Welcome to Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 1037. For the next 60 minutes, join Jeff Brown and Kryder, the ultimate sports fan, as they break down all things Steelers related, along with discussing anything and everything happening in the world of sports. They will take your calls at 814-867-9287. Now, world of sports. They will take your calls at 814-867-9287. Now, here's Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 1037.
Here is Black Gold Breakdown. We're glad to have you along with us. He's Kryder. I'm Jeff Brown. He's Jay-Z. We're going to have ourselves time. We're going to spend an hour talking Steeler football with you. It's all brought to you by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, celebrating 40 years of service to the community. Home of the $1,000 lowest price guarantee. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has a vehicle to fit your budget and transportation needs with 19 locations throughout Pennsylvania. Mr. Kryder, sir, how are you?
No news is good news. What do I mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
I don't know. Guess.
Steelers haven't signed anybody you don't like.
No, it means don't get arrested between now and the 3 weeks till training camp starts. This is the no news is good news phase where Tomlin's, they're out doing their own thing, and bad things usually happen. You'll see that blotter come across in the next 3 weeks. This Yahoo got arrested for hitting this person or doing this or speeding here or buying that or illegally doing that.
Well, they do have 3 weeks, and they do have a lot of money, so you don't know about this stuff. But, yeah, you're thinking, it always kind of amazes me that if I'm getting paid a ton of money to do something, whatever it happens to be, and I just, maybe it's just me, but I just can't ever see myself deliberately doing something that I know could cost me all that money and that lifestyle. It doesn't make sense.
Forrest Gump said, money don't make you smart. He didn't really say that, but I just thought it'd be good to say that in Forrest Gump's voice.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, it doesn't, No. Money doesn't make you any smarter.
I just don't get it. If you tell me you keep your nose clean, you don't do anything to get arrested. I mean, even if you said you're not allowed to drink any beer for the next 3 weeks and we'll continue to pay this huge amount of money to you, that's okay with me. I don't care as long as I get the huge amount of money, but they just keep pushing the envelope. Maybe it's why they're great athletes, because they like to push envelopes, but let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, and then it's always interesting because they always have that, well, back in the day, they had that conditioning test the first day of training camp where you had to complete the test in a certain time or else you were not able to start practicing. I remember old Casey Hampton wasn't allowed to practice for like a week till he got in better shape. So we'll see. I mean, typically the athletes are smart enough to realize what's coming and they come back in relatively good shape, but it's usually the defensive linemen or offensive linemen that kind of struggle when it comes to that first couple days of training camp.
Well, you'd think that Cam might, set the tone and just say, "Hey, don't do it. Just contact people," as the absolute leader of the team, and just maybe he throws his weight around it. So you don't believe Tomlin, you don't want to talk to, want to believe your coaches. Cam Hayward's saying, "Do not do anything stupid in the next 3 weeks." Tuscamania, baby.
That's our number one outside linebacker backup right now. How does that make you feel?
It doesn't make me feel good at all. I am happy with Highsmith, and obviously very happy with TJ Watt. But the thought of, if you got Tuska and you got Tuzar, Skipper, and who's the other guy I'm missing out on?
Can we call him Tuzar Skipar?
Sure, why not?
Sounds
Hopefully
fancy.
We won't ever say his name as far as playing, so he wants to be Tuzar, Skipar, sure. But yeah, and you got Spillane.
No, Spillane's the inside linebacker.
Okay, well, I'm saying old linebacker.
Are you looking for the free agent Jannard Avery from Philadelphia?
That's it. That's the one I'm looking for. That's why.
When did you become the amazing Kreskin over there?
Zach is so good.
That's my job. That's why I'm over in this seat.
Oh, very nice.
It scares the heck out of me. If they want to give these guys a blow for a couple of plays, okay.
Well, yeah, because
one of them goes down.
Don has like 7 quad injuries or calf or hamstring or groin or hip injuries.
You're talking about the defensive player of the year here? Is that what you're talking about?
Imagine how Grady Beefy played up more games. Yeah, so he's going to, and he also gets very winded sometimes in poignant stretches of the fourth quarter where they rotationally rest him. So
you're talking about the defensive player of the year.
I am talking about the Teflon Don.
Just checking. But yeah, if they've got to go out for a few plays, okay. But man, are they in trouble? And I don't know. Old, Buddy Young or whatever, Buddy Johnson.
Buddy's not really. He's an inside linebacker as well.
Yeah, I don't have any confidence in any of the linebacking core other than the starters.
They got to figure something out there. So the Athletic reports that they don't think the Steelers and Diontae Johnson are going to get to that contract agreement before training camp ends, which would mean next year he would be eligible for the big payday in free agency. So,
is he? I mean, is he?
Well,
he'll be ready for it, but is he going to get it from anybody?
When lesser people who with lesser stats have gotten the money they wanted, I don't see why he won't.
I don't see anybody paying him $22 million, which was the last total that some sports matrix came up with. Is he's worth $22 million a year? I just don't see it, and I see the stats and I read all the reports, but man, on the field, the eye test. He is not an elite receiver as far as I'm concerned. You guys may tell me I'm wrong, but I'm thinking $22 million is an elite receiver, and he's not one of them.
I wonder if his production would go down a little bit just because Ben kind of used him as a safety blanket all the time with those quick release passes, 2 yards from the line of scrimmage. So if the more nimble quarterback this year chooses not to throw those routes, will he become less of a primary target for that reason? Or would you say that Ben didn't get in the ball in other spots? I don't know. We'll see. That's all going to be very interesting to see.
The whole thing, the longer I read things and the longer I think about last season, I think it's just a throwaway for everything. Last season was, that you had Ben and he wasn't mobile and he wasn't able to run the offense. So do we know if Canada knows anything or not? No, we really don't. Do we know if the receivers were as bad as they looked? No, we don't really know. The defense,
we know the offensive line was as bad as they played.
Oh, absolutely. But the defense,
we know they can't stop the run.
The defense was but were they tired? Were they this? Were they that? They're on the field all the time. I don't think we know anything from last year. That's the disturbing part for me when you start looking at, are the Steelers going to win 8 games this year, or are they going to be over 7.5? I'm glad I'm not a bookie. I'm glad I'm not making bets because, jeez, I have no idea about this team. I think they could be lousy, or they could at least make the playoffs. What do you think?
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be swimming in that traditional one game under 500 kind of area the whole season, like picking and.
Well, they can't be under 500 because that ruins Tomlin's record.
Yeah.
So it's got to go over. Zach, man, what are they doing? Are they over?
I mean, we hashed it out how many weeks ago now, where they just realistically they can't make the playoffs, and therefore they will either be that 500 mark again of the 8-8-1, the infamous 8-8-1, or this might be the losing season, first losing season in Mike Tomlin's history.
Well, then I'm hoping it's 3-14 or whatever to set them up for a high draft pick.
There you go. Speaking of draft picks, how about that? The luster has that worn off that third-round draft pick of Justin Lane, the former quarterback that they saw immense raw talent that was going to be the next cornerback that was going to lock people down for decades. He's going into his 4th season now with the Steelers and hasn't done jack squat.
Hell of a special teams guy.
Come on.
I knew I'd get that response from you.
And then you also have McFarland, Anthony McFarland going into his 3rd year. Is he going? He had some nagging injuries and stuff last year, underwhelmed in his 1st year. Is this the year that maybe he could step up and take some carries from Najee and be the 2nd running back?
No, I think he's cooked. I really do. I don't see him on
another
the team
3rd-round draft pick
at all. Boom, get him out of here. They're going to sign some veteran after people start getting cut at the end of August. But I don't see Benny Snell may hold on, but I don't see Anthony McFarland holding on at all.
What about your boy Pat Freiermuth? Think he can make his first Pro Bowl this year? Or is that,
yes.
Well, I think what would happen is it might be tough because of the competition ahead of him that usually gets voted to the Pro Bowl.
Oh, I think he will because, you get If you're talking the voting, maybe. But if you're talking will he be there, he'll be there. Because there's always guys saying, oh, I got a hangnail and doggone it, I can't make it. And then they bring people up. So I think he'll get there. He's going to be easily in the top 10, if not top 5 tight ends in football this year, especially with Canada's offense the way it looks. So, yeah, he's going to have plenty of opportunities to make the Pro Bowl. And if he doesn't, it means that he has a really, really unusually bad season.
What happens if he gets a concussion early on again? Are there concerns with him because the few that he had last year and the ones he had at Penn State? Is that something they worry about now all the time, or is that like water under the bridge until the next one happens?
Well, it's with concussions, it's easier to get. And the more you get, the easier it is to get them. And that's the bad part.
But isn't there like a certain number that if you get in a certain time period that they might tell you that you shouldn't play anymore because you had so many concussions within a certain time span?
Right. Yeah. So that's what I mean. He doesn't have to. I think he's at the point where, because he had 3 at Penn State. I'm trying to think how many he had. I think it was 3, and then he's had a couple of years.
He had 2 with the Steelers.
So 5. Yeah. I mean, he's got to be getting there as far as somebody going. You need to really start thinking about this now. Obviously, I think it'll be his choice, but yeah, it's the easier. The more you have, the easier it is to get him. So he's got a much better chance of getting knocked out a couple of times this season because of it, which would be not good for the Steelers.
So Fantasy Pros ranks the Steelers' offensive line the 5th worst in the NFL. Can you live with that?
Because I think they were the worst last year.
They were dead last year.
So they moved up 5 points. Hell yeah, I'm happy with that.
That's improvement.
That is improvement, ladies and gentlemen. I think so. I can't imagine a line playing worse than last year. So 5th best. Hell, if the Bengals can go to the Super Bowl with their offensive line last year, Steelers can at least play 500 football with theirs.
ESPN ranked the Steelers' overall roster at 22nd in the league, has the Browns with the 6th best roster, the Bengals the 8th, and the Ravens the 12th. What do you think about that? That mid-20 ranking seems to be broken down in a lot of different ways and different units for the Steelers, but it all seems to be coming up that bottom third of poop soup.
I don't know. You know me doing this show. I always have the Steeler colored glasses on. I don't agree with all these people dooming and glooming and saying, oh, they're going to be horrible and embarrassing and blah, blah, blah. I think they have made too much improvement to be that way. They're not going to win the Super Bowl unless some miraculous thing happens. But I don't think they're as bad as everybody, especially Pro Football Focus, says they're going to be.
Let's think about this for a second. So if they put them at 22, that means they are the 10th worst team in football. So what does that get you, a top 10 pick? And what record is that normally? That 5-11, well, in 16 games, 6-10, but with 17. So that gets you what? 5-12, 6-11. It sounds like that's what they're expecting from the Steelers, which I don't see. No. I see them as an 8 or 9 win team.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know where. I guess maybe it's just kind of fashionable to throw them down there, and that's fine. We'll prove it on the field.
Well, I mean, I don't get into the fantasy side of things. You know, I just bet real Cheetos. But CBS Fantasy had their analysts on, and they went as far as to say that the Steelers' offense will be an epic failure this year in 2022, citing, you know, whether it's Mitch Trubisky underperforming, Kenny Pickett starting as a rookie. The Steelers have a pretty challenging schedule. Their division, you know, the Browns and the Bengals aren't layups like they used to be in the past. So they think the Steelers' offense is really going to struggle.
Let's go back here a second to the last point. Do you really think the Browns are the 6th best team in football?
I think that's probably assuming that Deshaun Watson was at the helm. I mean, they do have a bunch of, good key skill position players on the defense and the offense. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that the Browns their roster overall was ranked higher than the Bengals after the Bengals making the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm thinking too. I think the Browns, without Deshaun Watson for the entire year, finished last in the division. And they're the 6th best team according to ESPN. I don't know. Bengals, I don't even know if they're the 8th. I might give them maybe 10, 11, 12, something like that. I think they're both pretty high. The Ravens 12. Okay.
Well, the Ravens, you don't really know what you're going to get. I think you cannot help but see a market improvement in their play this year because they probably will not be as snake bitten as they were last year with the multitude of injuries, especially at the running back position that they took last year.
But do you think they can win with that wide receiver core? I mean, they've got a bad wide receiver.
Didn't they draft a wide receiver or get somebody? Didn't they do something?
They took Rashad Bateman last year in the first round, and they traded away Marquise Brown, but they're not a passing offense.
Right.
They plan to get the lead and then hold on to the football for 60 minutes every single time.
Well, yeah, I think the bigger question for them would be, can they win deep into the playoffs with Lamar Jackson and the philosophy that they have on their offense?
Right. I mean, I sooner or later, the NFL is a league where you make adjustments. And I think if they're basically raising the white flag and saying we're not going to throw the ball very much, that there's a lot of teams that are going to gear up and scheme.
Sometimes I see them throw really great passes that I don't know why they don't throw more. I don't watch them enough, because they're on a lot of times the same time as the Steelers. But he doesn't look that horrible as a passer, but it seems like they do shy away from having him make passes in critical situations.
We'll have to talk to our guy, Bort, about that. We're going to take a break. It's Black and Gold Breakdown with Brown and Kryder on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Here's Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7. Want to get in on the action? Call the show at 814-867-9287.
Yeah, give us a call, 814-272-9625. We'd love to hear from you. It's Black and Gold Breakdown with Brown and Kryder on ESPN Radio 1450. All brought to you by Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram Truck of State College. Trucks, SUVs, and more SUVs. They've got them. With other people on low inventory, they've got hundreds, and I do mean hundreds in stock, hundreds on the way. So make the drive to Route 26 in State College to get your new ride. Includes no additional charge, worry-free maintenance, dedicated 24/7 owner support, and the VIP access. So why not a new Jeep or a new Ram with the largest inventories, the largest trade values, only at Blaze Alexander Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram Truck of State College, because they take the deals the other guys won't. We always have a question of the day.
Yeah.
What is it?
Today's question is, will Antonio Brown make the Hall of Fame?
If he does, you'll catch me outside screaming my head off. But I'm coming from the
There's
old
two
school.
sets of criteria that you're not officially allowed to consider, but most people do, which is your on-field performance and then your off-field contributions or withdrawals to the game itself. And the easiest person to compare him to is Terrell Owens, who off the field was a little bit of a disruption and did some things that the Hall really wasn't fond of, but at the end, he ended up getting admitted to the Hall of Fame and then still did it his own way and didn't abide by the tradition and do it the way they normally do it. But even he came out and was like, don't compare Antonio Brown to me. So now you have Terrell Owens trying to distance himself, and his stats are a lot better than Antonio Brown's. But I think when push comes to shove, that those years in Pittsburgh probably cemented him as a Hall of Famer.
See, I just don't.
I don't want that to happen, but I feel like that's what's going to happen.
I just feel, and forget about any of the antics, the throwing the TVs out there and the furniture out the balconies and all that other stuff. He quit on his team in the middle of a game.
Twice. He did it with the Steelers. And that last game of the year with the Bengals.
Yeah, and that's not Hall of Fame credentials as far as I'm concerned. And I know I'm coming from the old school side of things, and Jay-Z, I want to hear from you on this because you're young school, but to me, if you quit on your team, and I'm just talking about the time he takes his uniform off in the middle of the game and walks off the field, sorry, you're not a Hall of Famer because that is not Hall of Fame material. What do you think, youngster?
From a talent standpoint, I mean, he's one of the best wide receivers ever in the NFL.
Right.
It's a good thing he didn't do all of that to the Steelers. But I guess he did, in a sense. He forced his way out of Pittsburgh. There were rumors that...
He cost him great draft or trade capital when he failed to go. They were supposed to send him to where? Was it the Jets?
Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo. That's right. He said, I ain't playing there. They were going to give him third-round pick, and then he ended up blowing that up, and he ended up getting...
The Bills were going to offer... they were offering a first-round pick for Antonio Brown. For, I think, a first and a third-round pick, and then he said, he's like, I'm not playing in the cold. I'm not playing in Buffalo, so you can forget it. Then that tanked the trade capital.
Then he ended up with the Raiders.
Yep. Ended up with the Oakland Raiders.
Nothing. Yeah.
For a third...
Where he called Mike Mayock a cracker.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. That behavior just
a third round pick that was parlayed into Devin Bush. That makes you feel any better?
But it ended up being a 6th-round pick.
It doesn't make Andy feel any better.
They get a third-round.
They got a third and a fifth.
Did they get a third?
And they used that third-round pick in the trade to go move up to take Devin Bush.
Oh.
So think about that. You traded Antonio Brown for Devin Bush, in a sense.
And Devin Bush's first year, okay, I'll do that trade. But since then, I mean, Antonio Brown was a disruptive force on every team he played for, including the Steelers. I mean, let's not forget about that little locker room after the game, movie-making fiasco trying to be Spielberg. And I just keep going back to the point that no Hall of Famer. I would think if I was an NFL Hall of Famer and this guy got in after he ripped his uniform off and left the field in the middle of a game, I might turn my jacket back in. I think that would so devalue the honor of being in the Hall of Fame. I'm looking at the Deacon Joneses of the world and the Mike Singletaries and all that. They're going to go, he did what?
How about Mel Blount? How about any of the Steelers?
Yeah,
Swan, Stallworth.
Ronnie Lott cut his finger off for crying out loud to keep playing.
I guess I hear you, but I guess people talk about Lawrence Taylor and the cocaine issues and all those kind of things. That, know that a lot of those players back in the day had some off-field warts that weren't as highly publicized as what everything is scrutinized to the manner it is today.
But he didn't quit. Nobody has quit.
He just kept doing them lines until they were done.
That's right. And he still played well.
I ain't quitting on no line.
That's the thing. He still played well. But I just think you quit. Sorry, that's not a Hall of Famer.
So then that's your personal preference. What's your prediction?
Oh, you're going to make me sound like an old fart again.
I feel like he probably won't get in the first couple times he's eligible, and then maybe, as time goes on.
I think he might be the Pete Rose of the NFL Hall of Fame.
Well, that means he'll never get in.
Yeah, well, but people are now going, let's take a look at this again. He didn't really bet on his own team, and he didn't.
No, he did. He just bet on the win.
Yeah, so he'll get in. Pete Rose is going to eventually get in. Absolutely. Everybody can. The younger sports writers in that and the younger fans kind of go, what's the big deal? And so eventually it'll happen.
So did you know that the Steelers didn't have their first offensive coordinator until 1983?
I knew that.
That's when Chuck Noll put Tom Moore in that position. So I thought it'd be fascinating to look at the list of the Steelers offensive coordinators and maybe rank the couple that you thought were pretty good,
Randy
and the
Fichtner.
couple that you thought were fake nerd, fake turd, however you want to refer to him is fine by me. So Tom Moore was followed up by Joe Walton, then Ron Earhart, Chan Gailey, Ray Sherman, Kevin Gilbride, Mike Mularkey, Ken Wisenhunt, Bruce Arians, Todd Haley, Randy Fichtner, and now presently that helm is manned by Matt Canada. So what do you think of that list?
Yikes.
Yeah, it don't sound real impressive, does it?
Sounds like malarkey.
Yeah, it does. Or Wisenhunt. But, I know Chan Gailey did some good things. Joe Walton was a disaster. Tom Moore did some good things for a lot of years. So you got to give him credit for that.
What do you think of Todd Haley when he was there? I feel like Todd Haley got a bad rap.
Yeah, they were too busy fighting.
He didn't want to do the old kumbaya with Ben Roethlisberger.
Right. Yeah, I think if things had changed there and maybe somebody had taken a stronger hand at the reins and said, you guys, I don't care if you don't like each other out the field, you're going to like each other on the field and you're going to make each other better, things might have been different there. Because Haley, it was widely regarded as a great offensive mind. much more so.
But he's not
than,
coaching anywhere right now, right? After he flamed out when he couldn't get along with the knucklehead in Cleveland.
Right.
I think he's just sitting around
collecting all his money. But Chan Gailey was a great offensive mind. Ray Sherman, I remember coming in, and everybody thought, oh, Ray Sherman, man, the offense is going to take off under him. Nothing happened there. Gilbride wasn't bad. He did some innovative things.
Well, usually the offensive and defensive coordinator positions are springboards to head coaching jobs. Look at this list.
Yeah.
Wasn't many springboards on there.
No.
Wisenhunt did get a head coaching job, didn't he, for a year?
Cardinals, and guess who
Took him to the
he
Super
faced
Bowl.
in the Super Bowl? Yeah,
Yeah.
Ken Wisenhunt against the Steelers.
Yeah.
And Malarkey, he's great. I'd love to see Malarkey back. I like to see either one of them back on the Steelers coaching staff somewhere, somehow. But that's
Bruce Arians is the most successful out of all of them.
Right.
I would say from that standpoint, he's the best of the group.
Yeah.
In terms of actual Steelers offensive production, I think it's either Ken Wisenhunt or Todd Haley, at least from my day and age of watching. I agree with you. I think Chan Gailey's an underrated offensive mind, but he's not the best ever.
Oh, no, not
But the Steelers could have had Bruce Arians as their head coach and decided not to give him the job, and that left him
or
to
at least
leave.
keep him around.
Right.
They fired him. Ben wanted him to stay. Ben wanted him around.
I agree. But Tomlin didn't.
All right, can we have all the Kenny Pickett, Joe Burrow references stop anytime soon? Everybody keeps saying, oh, it was the Slim Shady McCoy was talking the other week on a podcast saying that he sees a lot of similarities in the way Kenny Pickett plays football with his daring style and accuracy that he sees in Joe Burrow.
But did you see, and I had forgotten about this, I as soon as I read it, I remembered it. When Joe Burrow was coming up, people were talking about the size of his hands, too, and he issued a statement to the press basically saying, I've got small hands, so I'm not going to get drafted. My apologies to my family and friends, or something like that. And his small hands aren't really hurting him.
Well, we'll see if the Steelers were right about old doll hands, or is he just another... Remember this name? E.J. Manuel, because he was drafted because he was the best QB in a terrible class, which was in 2013, and he was a dud for the Bills. And in that draft class issue, I think Geno Smith was drafted after him. You had Mike Glennon, Matt Barkley. So is Kenny Pickett you think he's more likely to be an E.J. Manuel or more likely to be a Joe Burrow?
I think he's going to be more like a Joe Burrow. I don't think...
more likely to be. So you're saying stardom is in Dahlhan's future. If you were wagering,
you're playing with dolls.
If you were wagering those hamburger helper hands, are you saying stardom or E.J. Manuel?
Okay, well, there's got to be someplace in between.
That's not how you bet.
He's not going to be Joe Burrow, but he's going to be more Joe Burrow than he is E.J. Manuel.
I think he's closer to Joe Burrow. Yeah. That's a really low floor we're talking about here with E.J. Manuel. That's cast off.
Did he even play
league.
more than 1 or 2 years in the league? I don't even remember him after.
Because Kenny Pickett has that instinctive it factor, and that will get you by to an extent to at least be somewhat serviceable. He's not pedestrian. He wants to win. He has that clutch factor in him. So I will take that every time, where if he can't throw a laser 100 miles an hour down the field, but man, he'll tuck it and run for 6 extra yards and put his head down.
So listen to this list here. In the last 20 years, 8 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round in slot 20 or beyond have made their week 1 debut as the starting quarterback for their team. Listen to these names. Kyle Orton, Andy Dalton.
Hey, Andy Dalton.
Brandon Weeden, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, and this one, Deshaun Kaiser. Remember when he was coming out of Notre Dame and people were like, it's going to be good. I actually thought that the Steelers were like jonesing to get him. So, look, does that list inspire you beyond, do you take maybe, I don't know.
When you think about it, half the list isn't bad.
Yeah, I'll take, half the list.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you want on the list.
I guess you got Wilson, Carr, and Dak.
I don't like Dak Prescott. I don't know. I feel like he's overrated and overpaid, but I guess he's not a bust, and he's at least above the line.
Andy Dalton led the Bengals to the playoffs. Is he your ideal guy? No, but he's not the worst quarterback ever.
He's great to yell at on the sideline. He's great. And Russell Wilson.
But then you have Kyle Orton, Brandon Weeden, Geno Smith, and Deshaun Kaiser.
Kaiser's the worst on this list.
Oh, by far.
Easily.
Like, I don't know what happened there, what team saw, or what.
The Browns.
Yeah.
The Browns are the Browns.
The Browns is the Browns.
Okay, here's what I want from Kenny Pickett. I don't care if he does not grow up to be Joe Burrow. But if he can manage a game, like Zach said, come up with a few clutch plays, not make mistakes, I'll take my chances with him with a good receiving core and Najee in the backfield and Freiermuth at tight end and a great defense. I'll take my chances with the Kenny Pickett.
If he had some stones, he would come out of the tunnel in the Steelers' first home game with those two big foam hands on his hands and run out of the tunnel with them up there like that. Just as a reference to
wear like
hands.
Giant Mickey Mouse gloves.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse gloves. That would be good.
Is that all we want, though, is to be a game manager who doesn't make mistakes? Don't we draft guys in the first round to be studs and carry our team and throw for 48 touchdowns with 7 picks and run for 422 yards?
That would be nice, but those people are generational. They're 1 in a million. They got to have a couple of, at least one pretty bad losing season to put yourself in a position to draft one of those guys.
Well, here's what we're quietly figuring out through little hints that have been dropped throughout. The Steelers did not think Kenny Pickett was going to be available at 20, which is why they signed Mitchell Trubisky. So let's think about.
Well, they tried to trade up on draft night.
Yeah,
trade up.
They wanted to move up because they didn't think so they wanted Kenny Pickett all along. It wasn't, well, we'll take him because he's here. They believe that he will be more than a game manager, and that Mitchell Trubisky's kind of just extra insurance. They'll pay him $7 million. They don't care.
Sure, even as a backup, $7 million is not that much.
But if they knew they were going to get Kenny Pickett right out of the gate, who knows if Trubisky's even in Pittsburgh? And this
interesting.
This is a losing battle for Mason Rudolph's the loser in all of this.
Right. Yeah, because they knew he was never going to go anywhere. Yeah, but and I'm talking worst case scenario. When I'm saying if he can manage a game and he can come up with some clutch plays and he plays smart football and mistake-free football, relatively speaking, okay, that'll get the Steelers through. That'll win them some ball games and. Yeah, who knows? Maybe another quarterback comes along sometime. They have a bad season or whatever, but
next year.
I'll take it. We're going to take another break. This is Black and Gold Breakdown with Brown and Kryder on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Now, back to Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7.
And it is brought to you by Blaze Alexander, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram Truck of State College. If it's a new truck, Jeep, or SUV you want, they've got it. Others may be low on inventory, but they've got hundreds, and I do mean hundreds in stock, hundreds on the way. So make that drive to Route 26 in State College and see what they have, because it is the place to be. Blaze Alexander, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram Truck of State College, taking the deals the other guys won't. Will the Steelers' run game jump back into the top half of the league in 2022? A Steelers staple, for crying out loud, and it wasn't that way last year.
No, I think they were 29th in the league. They averaged a paltry 93 yards a game. So when I did my research, they would need to average, based off 2021, 115 yards per game to get into the top half of the league. And so that means they have to have a 23-yard per game improvement. So
piece of cake.
Really?
Absolutely, piece of cake.
Piece of cake, huh?
Mm-hmm. I got 23 yards a game. They
only had 90. They only had 93.
A new offensive line. Yeah, because I think they're going to run more.
It's
this
like a
time.
25% increase in rushing yards per game.
Well, I understand that, but the offense was so pitiful and the line was so bad. The defense is just stacked up, and they were waiting for him every single time. So you get Trubisky or you get Pickett, who's running around making some plays. They've got to keep their eye on them there. They've got to honor, at least at the beginning of the season, the passing game until they see if Trubisky or Trubisky or Pickett is going to be accurate. So they're going to be loosened up a little bit. And I think they're going to be able to run better, and the line is better this year. So I say yes. Zach, what say you?
Oh, that's a good question. I say no, because I think teams are going to sell out for the run. The play action, I think the passing game will actually benefit from this, because then the play action, the read option, will help Mitch Trubisky. So I say they're going to be below 16, but it's because teams are going to sell out, because they know they have Najee Harris, they know they're committed to the run, and they're going to bait the Steelers and say, hey, we dare you to pass it, especially with that offensive line.
Yes, sir.
I agree with that logic. If they can't pass, they can't run. We saw that last year. The run doesn't set up the pass. The pass has got to set up the run for Pittsburgh, and they didn't throw it well enough last year to open up some more running lanes for the rushing game.
Well, I'm betting you guys are wrong, because it's time for Capping with Kryder. See what I did there? Betting, capping, all that stuff. It's all brought to you by Lion Country Kia. Don't just buy any pre-owned vehicle. You deserve a Kia certified pre-owned vehicle from Lion Country Kia. Check them out at 1334 Drivable Street behind Sam's Club in State College. What say you, Swami?
Well, I'm back on my redemption tour after the 1 week hiatus when the black cloud of brown wished me bad luck and told me that water was going to seek its own level again and my hot streak was going to end, and you were correct and I lost. So last week I said to take the Diamondbacks and against the Padres, getting a run and a half. And at one point, I looked late in the game, and they were down 6 runs, and I thought, oh, my Lord, I'm on a Jeff Brown type of losing streak. Lo and behold, they scored 6 runs and came back to win 7-6, so it was a winner. Tonight, in honor of you, I say put all your life savings on the Yankees on the road in Pittsburgh tonight.
Now, wait a minute here.
What?
Yankees are the best team in baseball. Pirates are one of the worst teams in baseball.
Sure, bet the Yankees.
And wow, you're saying bet the Yankees. That's really
take
stretching.
The dog.
That's really stretching it, Bubba. Let me tell you.
You got to make money. They're only minus 200, so you put $200 down, you'll make $100.
So the Yankees have to win by 200? Is that what you're saying?
No, if you bet $100, you'll make an actual $50.
Betting for dummies.
Yeah.
Yes.
So wait a minute. I got about $100 to make 50?
Yeah, because you just said it, that the Yankees are such a predominant favorite. So if you don't take the runs, you play with the payout. So you could bet the Pirates, and then you would win, probably close to double your money. They kind of screw you a little bit on the opposite way, but you would win. Probably if you bet 200 on the Pirates, you'd win like 380, 370.
And they are plus 165, so $100 would win you 165 new dollars. You get your 100 back, and then
you get the 165. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. But I'm like, if I'm putting down 100, and I realize I get my 100 back, but
there's a
to only win a paltry 50.
Yeah, but there's a reason that the payout is higher, is because it's less likely to happen.
Right.
So there's a reason that payout is less, because it's more likely to happen. Now with baseball, those are the road games you can find when Clayton Kershaw and them are pitching, and you think it's a slam dunk, and you bet against them, and you get a huge payout, because it's great when you're right once in a while, but you're going to take a lot of lumps on the head until you get a couple of those wins, because more often than not, like Scherzer's pitching tonight, I'm sure his odds are, whatever the line is for them, tonight is probably minus 200.
See, I'm going to be able to bet $50 and win 3,000 or something like that. I don't want to screw
Well, if you pick every game correctly,
win 50
if you
for
pick
God's
every
sakes.
American League game correctly tonight and bet $50 on it, you might win 3,000.
Is that right?
Sure.
Jeez.
the Mets are the same thing, minus 200 against the Reds, the lowly Reds.
I'll bet you'd wish you'd bet on the White Sox, or it wasn't the White Sox. Who did the triple play, the NS triple play?
I bet under
it was
18.
Against the White Sox.
Yeah,
I bet under 18 runs in the Pirates game the other night. How many did they give up? 19 again?
19.
Yeah. You had the Brewers team total at under 18.5. They just barely beat it.
Yep. But, if you'd had the Twins pulling off a triple play last night, you would have won a lot of money. Nobody thought that was
Yeah, you can do that now. You can do that, and you just go into whatever player or special props, and you can bet triple play, multiple grand slams, whatever.
There's got to be
have you.
bookies going, this idiot bet on a triple play tonight.
Sure.
Yeah, and then they cry later on. All right, well, anyway, enough of the cap and stuff. Now we go to the scouting report, and it's brought to you by Sergeant Bob. If you need a great singer or songwriter with acoustical music for your wedding or special event, check out Sergeant Bob Timney. By the way, he got married over the weekend.
Oh, man.
He got married over the weekend.
He's a Svengali.
I know the guy who performed the ceremony. It was beautiful. If you need, if you want to book Sergeant Bob Timney, all you got to do is go to sergeantbob.rocks. That's sgtbob.rocks. Check out his site for veteran awareness info, testimonials. You can hear some music and get upcoming dates and more. So, give me that scouting report.
Yeah, so the scouting report rhetorical question would be, is Mike Tomlin in for his worst season yet?
No.
Well, here's some reasons why it's probably going to be hard for the Steelers to even replicate their record from last year. So the Steelers were 7-1-1 in games decided by 7 points or less, and 4-0-1 in games decided by 3 points or less. So more or less, they punched well above their weight last year in those games. So the law of averages, says the black cloud of Jeff Brown, means things got to balance back out this year. So are they going to win that rate again, those close games last year? The answer would be no.
Now, wait a minute. First of all, I'm not, you guys are always giving me grief because I'm the optimistic one, and I can't be the black cloud of Jeff Brown, for crying out loud.
But anyways, they're not going to go 7-1-1 again, probably in games decided by a touchdown or less, or 4-0-1 in games decided by a field goal or less. Plus, we had to factor in that inexplicable game that the Colts had to lose, and then the mother of all heart attacks was the game that won't end in a tie, can't end in a tie, is going to end in a tie. Oh my God, it didn't end into a tie. The Raiders and Chargers finale in 18. Those strange things had to happen in order for the Steelers to just make the playoffs. So the wisdom would be then they're not going to win as many close ball games at the same pace that they did last year. They had some really once-in-a-lifetime things happen to allow them to sneak in the playoffs. They will probably go the other direction and finish at 6-11, 7-10 this year.
Very nice research. I applaud you. It's very convincing. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to do that in a second so I can tell you what I think. But remember, they finished a half a game out of first place in the division, okay, even with all that stuff happening. And if we were talking about, is Mike Tomlin in for his worst season, and this was a year ago, we might have been right because they should have been bad last year.
But they got lucky a lot last year.
That's what I'm saying. They lucked out.
So if that luck goes away, wouldn't you think that the record is probably going to be worse this year?
No, because I think the record should have been worse last year. They've improved themselves in a lot of different areas. So last year should have been the time that Tomlin had a horrible season. I think this year they're going to be better because of the improvements, the depth, things like that. So,
you're taking away 7 game-winning fourth-quarter drives by Ben, too, last year.
Well, they're going to have a few of those. Maybe they don't need some of them. But we just talked earlier in the show that they're going to win 8 games or 9 games or something like that. So, no, they're going to be all right. They're still going to get over 500 for Mikey. Now we're going to take a break. This is Black and Gold Breakdown with Brown and Kryder on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
Now, back to Black and Gold Breakdown on ESPN Radio 103.7.
We are back, and we're taking your calls, 814-272-9625. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think? 814-272-9625. It's brought to you by Blaze Alexander, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram Truck of State College. If it's a new truck, Jeep, or SUV you want, they got it. Others are low on inventory, but they've got hundreds, and I do mean hundreds in stock. Hundreds more on the way, so make the drive to Route 26 State College and see what they've got. Your deal always includes no additional charge, free worry-free maintenance, dedicated 24/7 owner support, and the VIP access. So ask yourself, why not a new Jeep or new Ram? With the largest inventories, the largest trade values, only at Blaze Alexander, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram Truck of State College, because they take deals the other guys won't. So
like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. My mom used to watch that. She used to call them the stories, I guess, the soap opera. So that was the guy who voiced the show. What was it? What was that one? I forget. The name of that one. I forget. Days of Our Lives, I think it was.
Good
so
name.
Deshaun Watson, Days of Our Lives.
Yes, that's right. These are the days of our lives.
Like sands through the hourglass.
What the heck?
So
are they waiting for?
Well, they just finished up that hearing, so I guess they're going to compile their research now. And what I find fascinating is that the judge that's going to be giving her ruling on this is a female.
Yes.
So do you think she's under undue pressure as a woman to really come down hard because what he did against women was wrong, or do you think she's going to under undue pressure by the league to meet some kind of punishment out that everybody can live with.
Well, see, the league wants a year. They're hoping for a year, and
I think they're all trying to bargain together by saying we'd be willing to take 8 games. Well, we want 16. I think they're all trying to have this neat little tidy bow wrapped up for this.
Well, they were telling me too that if indeed the decision comes down, the league can then appeal it, and if it's appealed, it doesn't go back to a judge or anything. It goes to Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell is the guy who wants a year suspension. So it looks like in all probability he's going to get a year, which I think he should get. And I don't know if she's got pressure because frankly, to
don't
me,
you think the
cut and
collective
dried.
female base in America would be really upset with if they came back with 6 games or 4 games or 8 games?
Absolutely. That's why the NFL's pushing for the year.
And that's why there's a players' union, because they want 0.
Yeah,
the players'
right.
union wants a big fat 0.
Right.
And how can you possibly?
That's why
justify
I
0?
think when all said and done, 8 will be the magic number.
That right in the middle. They want a full season, 17. The players' union won 0. What's in the middle? 8, 9.
Which again, I think the Browns probably went through every worst case scenario and said mitigated, damages. What could we live with? And if they said beyond what they paid for him to get him, if we only have to give up 8 games, that's a win for us.
Did you see
I think even the full season's still a win for them because they don't owe him any money this season.
Yep.
They owe him $1 million.
But and I know he's going to work out, and I know he's going to be throwing at people and all that other stuff. But man, I can't help but think 2 years away from the game, the actual game, and the competitiveness of it, and the speed, everything else. That doesn't help the Browns.
Other than the weird stuff he does in his free time, he's still throwing a football around.
Oh, yeah.
And he's working out. So I totally agree the game speed will be behind. But look at all the guys that took the COVID-19 year off. Even the college players like Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons. They did not play football for a year going from college to pro. And they ended up becoming the best players in the league overnight.
Right.
Actually, because the rest was really good for their body, not taking those hits.
True.
So if rookies can do that, if 20-year-old guys can do that, I don't think Deshaun Watson will have a problem at the end of the day, especially with the way they protect quarterbacks.
I just can't see the league, especially, and Roe v. Wade is going to come into this as well. I don't think the league can possibly take the risk of alienating the female population, the female fan, by giving them 6 games
from
a
public relations. If you're talking about $1, they don't care because the base is white men.
Yeah,
the base of the audience is white men.
But it's I as image conscious as they are, I can't see them doing. I think even 8 games is too little, but I can't see them going.
Maybe they'll sign Kaepernick to come in his stead.
There you go. Wouldn't that be interesting? What a great conundrum that would be.
Yes.
You have Kaepernick playing for the Browns.
Deshaun Watson suspended for 17 games, and you will be forced to sign Colin Kaepernick. That is how we will make up for Roger Goodell's master plan.
Can you imagine that? That'd be beautiful. But we'll see. I mean, if he plays. And knowing, as much as I hate the Browns will go like 4-0 or 5-0 under Jacoby Brissett, and then he'll come back after 3 more games.
Well, let's look at that schedule.
It'll be.
While he's looking that up, what are your thoughts on the super alignment now going on in college football with teams jumping ship and either going to the SEC or the Big Ten?
Well, again, old fartness. I liked it back the way it was, where you had the Rose Bowl and it meant something good. But I got to tell you, from a Penn State point of view, I think it's kind of cool. It would be cool to be playing USC and not necessarily so much UCLA. But
do you think the Big 12 and Pac-12 think it's cool?
No, I don't think they think it's cool. I think they're like,
USC and UCLA do because they're making a lot more money. That's why they left. Because the Pac-12 is just very, very.
Do you think it's good for
mismanaged.
football to have 2 superpowers, though, like these conferences like this? I mean, can the ACC survive? Because don't you think sooner or later, I feel like Clemson, Florida State, and
they'll move to the SEC.
Right.
And then here's kind of the idea that I'm starting to gather is that the remnants from the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12, the ones that don't. It'll basically be the two super conferences, the Big 10 and the new SEC, and then this formation of basically like a 2A, 2B type of conference. They're a distant third place, but they're still a super conference because they'll have 20 schools in them.
Yeah.
But
Where's Notre Dame going to end up?
Probably the SEC, I would say. I mean, it's between
really?
it's between
Not the Big Ten?
It's between them and the Big Ten, of course, because that's where the most money lies.
I feel like they would have to end up in the Big Ten. Like,
I would hope so from a competitive side of things, and how cool it would be. But
and then this puts into perspective: is the NCAA necessary anymore?
no, they haven't been for a long time
Is
now.
the NCAA needed anymore? And then the SEC and the Big Ten come to an agreement, basically like the NFL, an AFC and an NFC.
Exactly.
We will send our representatives in a playoff.
Yeah.
And then across the conferences, you'll have a champion, have a conference champion from each side.
Exactly. I heard people talk about, well, this is unmanageable, and then Herbstreit came on and just said, what? It's the NFC and the AFC, for crying out loud. If the pros can figure it out, the colleges certainly can. What do you think? Is it good?
I don't know. I think it's all about greed, and I just wish this and the NIL stuff would go away.
Got to fit your Gators in there somewhere.
Well, they're in the SEC. They're good to go.
All right. Well, we got to leave. This has been Black and Gold Breakdown. Brown and Kryder on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
We could talk about the Steelers all night on Black and Gold Breakdown, but we've got to cover some other sports as well. Thanks for listening, and remember, you can catch the guys every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. on ESPN Radio 103.7.